$5,653. That's what the average homeowner right here in the Houston area is now paying every single year. Not for the mortgage, not for the property taxes, just to insure the house. That makes Houston the most expensive major metro in Texas for home insurance. More than Dallas, more than Austin, more than San Antonio. And while that number keeps climbing, some of you are opening renewal letters with increases of 18, 20, even 28%. Here's what your home's value has been doing over that same stretch. Nothing. The median price of a single-family home in Greater Houston area is almost exactly where it was 2 years ago. Costs climbing, prices frozen, and more homes sitting on the market than we've seen in years. That combination is quietly closing a door on thousands of Houston homeowners, and most of them won't even realize it until the day they need to move. Now, if you've been watching national headlines, you've seen the words housing crash everywhere. Phoenix is down 10% from its peak. Austin is down 26%. And maybe you're wondering, is Houston next? Here's the honest answer. Houston is not crashing. But something is happening here that's sneakier than a crash because it never makes a headline. It shows up on your insurance renewal, on your tax statement, in the 90 days your neighbor's house has been sitting with the price reduced banner on it. I call it the squeeze. In this video, I'll show you exactly who's getting squeezed, where it's hitting hardest, including one suburb that just landed on a national list of the biggest home value declines in the entire country, and the 4 realistic ways out. One of those 4 is the option almost nobody talks about, and it doesn't involve selling at all. And before we're done, I'll show you the advantage Houston homeowners have that folks in Phoenix and Austin would trade for in a heartbeat. Quick context on why I look at the market this way. I've spent nearly 20 years helping Houston homeowners through decisions exactly like this. As a broker, a former appraiser, and an investor who's evaluated and purchased hundreds of properties across this metro. I don't tell you that to impress you. I tell you because everything in this video comes from real conversations at real kitchen tables, not from a national headline written by somebody who couldn't find Katie on a map. All right, let's look at the numbers. Maybe you've pulled your house up on one of those estimate sites lately and thought, that's the same number as last year. You're not imagining it. According to the Houston Association of Realtors, the median single-family home in the greater Houston area sold for about $345,000 this June, essentially identical to a year ago and to the year before that. 2 straight years of a flat median price. Statewide, Texas prices have now declined year over year for 10 straight months, with Houston running down around 1 to 2%. Small numbers, but pointed in the wrong direction. Supply is a different story. This spring, Greater Houston had more than 57,000 homes listed for sale, the most we've seen in years. That's roughly 5.25 months of supply, and 6 months is the traditional line where a market officially belongs to buyers. We're knocking on that door, and homes are taking longer to sell. Average days on market has stretched to around 60, a couple of weeks longer than last year. Now, here's why flat is doing a lot of work in that sentence. If your home is worth about the same it was 2 years ago, but everything around it, labor, taxes, materials, labor costs, are more, your home quietly lost purchasing power. Flat on paper is falling in real life. Nobody sends you a letter about that one. So let me define the squeeze, because it's very different from what happened in Phoenix or Austin, and the difference tells you what to do about it. Those markets overshot and fell hard. That's a price trap. Houston's version has 3 sides, and price is only one of them. Side 1, the frozen price. You can no longer count on appreciation to bail you out. If you bought in 2022 or 2023 and sell today, the roughly 8% that commissions and closing costs take off the top comes straight out of your equity. The market didn't grow you any cushion. On a $350,000 sale, that's around $28,000. And if you put 5 or 10% down at the peak, that can be most of your equity. Side 2, the carrying cost climb. Texas homeowners pay roughly 60% more for insurance than before the pandemic. And Houston pays the highest premiums of any major metro in the state. Stack that on top of property tax rates that run north of 2% in many of our mud district suburbs, and the cost of simply standing still rises every single year, whether your value does or not. And side 3, the rate lock. If you're sitting on a mortgage from 20 or 2021 at 3%, and today's rates are around 6.5%, 7%, selling means giving up the cheapest money you probably will ever borrow. On a $300,000 loan, that's a payment around $1,265 versus a payment of around $1,900. That's $630 more a month, over $7,500 a year for the same loan amount. Frozen price, rising costs, a rate you can't take with you. And here's the thing about the squeeze. It doesn't hurt at all until life changes. A job transfer, a divorce, a baby, a parent who needs care. The day you need the house to do something for you is the day you find out which side of the squeeze you're on. And which side of the squeeze you're on depends heavily on where in this metro you live. Because Greater Houston is not one market. It's a dozen markets sharing a freeway system. Let me show you on the map. Let's start with the suburb I teased at the beginning, Katy. A national study, believe it or not, just ranked Katy's home value decline among the 20 largest in the country. Typical values down about 3.5% in 1 year to around $336,000. In a metro where the median is flat, Katy is falling. The reason comes down to one word though, builders. Let me make that real for you. And to protect people's privacy, this is a composite of several homeowners I've worked with, not just one family. So a couple buys a house, nearly new home, out past the Grand Parkway in 2022. A job offer comes along, the kind you don't really turn down. So they list it. What they hadn't really appreciated though, 2 miles down the road, the builder is still building the same floor plans and offering a rate buy down into the 4s, closing cost credits, and free upgrades. Their 4-year-old house wasn't competing with the neighbors. It was competing with the corporation with a mortgage company attached. 87 days, 2 price cuts. They got out, but they left about $40,000 of expectations on that table. And those 3 months cost them something no spreadsheet measures. That's the pattern anywhere builders are still delivering. Katy, parts of Conroe and Montgomery County, out towards Fulshire. An individual homeowner cannot match a 3-point buy down. You either price around it or you sit. Now, the other side of the map, Sugarland, Pearland, League City, more listings than last year, so buyers can breathe, but demand is steady and well-priced homes are moving. The Woodlands keeps holding firm. And inside the loop, it's a different market altogether, still favoring sellers for the right house. So, before you make any decision, ask one question. Am I in a builder corridor or an established neighborhood with nothing new being delivered nearby? That answers changes your entire strategy. The metro average is trivia. Your street is your reality. Quick pause. If this is the kind of straight Houston-specific analysis you want before making a 6-figure decision, please hit subscribe. It genuinely helps me keep making these videos. Because what's coming next is the part most people get wrong. Why this is not 2008, and then the 4 ways out of the squeeze, including the one nobody really talks about. Some of you are already thinking, so let's just say it out loud. This sounds like 2008. It doesn't. And I want you to understand why. Because the wrong diagnosis leads to the wrong decision. 2008 was a lending crisis that turned into a price crisis. Bad loans, phantom down payments, adjustable rates that exploded on people. Homeowners lost houses because they literally could not make the payment. Today, the lending is clean, down payments are real, and the overwhelming majority of Houston homeowners hold fixed rates they can comfortably afford. Foreclosure activity is a fraction of what a true crisis actually looks like. Nobody's being forced out, which is exactly why inventory is building slowly instead of flooding the market. And here's some perspective only Houstonians have earned. Our city has seen a real crash. In the mid-1980s, The oil bust gutted Houston home values and emptied entire office towers. That was a collapse. What we have now, flat prices, rising supply, a 2-year cost squeeze, is a recalibration after the fastest run-up in this city's history. Even flat, we're still up roughly 38% from before the pandemic. The problem in Houston isn't that people can't afford to stay. It's that staying isn't always what life is asking of them. The homeowners I sit down with every week aren't necessarily in foreclosure trouble. They're in life transition trouble. And a recalibrating market is genuinely a hard place to be when life won't wait for the market. So what do you actually do? Well, here are 4 options with real trade-offs on each, including a couple that don't benefit me one bit. Option 1, sell now and price to the market you're in, not the one from 2021 or 2022. In a rising supply market, the first price cut is the cheapest one. Sellers who chase the market down with 3 small cuts almost always net less than the one who priced honestly on day one and spend 3 extra months of taxes, insurance, and stress doing it. If your house is in great shape in a stronger area, listing with a good agent is probably your best bet. I'll say that plainly. If it needs work or your timeline matters more than every last dollar, a direct cash sale earns its place. You trade some price for certainty and speed. Neither is right. They're different tools for different jobs. Option number 2, stay and wait. For a lot of you, this is genuinely the correct answer. If the payment fits, the house still fits your life, and you're holding a 3% mortgage, you may be in the best financial position of your lifetime. Protect it. Houston's long-term story is intact. Jobs, population growth, prices that still look affordable to families arriving from pricier states. But waiting only works if waiting is free. If the house no longer fits your life, waiting isn't patience. It's paying rent to a decision you've outgrown. Option number 3, rent it out, the middle path, and the one where I watch people guess instead of doing math. Here's the short version for a typical 2022 buyer. Add up your mortgage payment, property taxes, and insurance at Houston's average, and you're often near $2,800 a month against a median Houston lease of about $2,150, with rents easing, not rising. That's a lot of accidental landlords paying roughly $700 a month for someone else to live in their house. Now, if you bought before 2021 or refinanced near 3%, that math can flip completely, and renting can be a great move. The point isn't don't rent. The point is run your numbers, don't guess. And option number 4, the one almost nobody talks about, and it doesn't involve selling at all. Attack the carrying costs. Houston's squeeze is a cost problem, and costs have levers. Shop your insurance every single year. Loyalty is expensive in this market, and I've watched homeowners cut 4 figures off a renewal just by getting 3 quotes and documenting a newer roof. Protest your property taxes every single year. It costs you an afternoon, and if rates ever dip meaningfully below 6, run the refinance math on a napkin before a loan officer runs it with rosier assumptions. None of that requires a moving truck. For homeowners who want to stay but feel the walls moving in, this is the option that buys you some air. Now, I want to tell you about one more set of homeowners. Again, this is a composite to protect people's privacy, but every piece of it's real. A couple out in the Cypress area. Second baby on the way, and the house is suddenly 2 bedrooms too small. They came to me convinced they were trapped. They'd run a rough number in their heads, flat value, minus commissions, minus what they still owed, and concluded they'd walk away with almost nothing after 3 years of payments. She said something I still think about sometimes. It feels like the house owns us now. So we sat down and actually ran it, all of it. And here's what the rough math in their heads had missed. They'd refinanced in 2020 at a 3.1% rate. Their all-in monthly cost was hundreds of dollars below what their house would lease for in that particular school zone. They didn't have a selling problem. They had a keeping opportunity. They rented the house out, and the lease covers the payment with margin. And that cash flow helped carry the bigger house their family desperately needed. Nothing about their situation changed in that meeting except one thing. They finally knew their actual position. That's the part I need you to hear. They spent months feeling trapped by a market. They were actually trapped by a guess. In my experience, that's the squeeze's favorite trick. It doesn't lock the door, it just convinces you the door is locked, so you never try the handle. Which brings me to the advantage I promised you, the one homeowners in Phoenix and Austin would trade for any day of the week. Your floor is real. Austin overshot so far, it's given back 26%. Phoenix, 10. Houston never really overshot. Prices here stayed close to what local incomes can actually support. That's exactly why our median went flat instead of falling off a cliff. Add some of the strongest population growth in the country, an economy that's a lot more than oil these days, and price tags that still look reasonable to a family arriving from California, and you have a market with a solid foundation under it. Here's the reframe I want you to take with you. In Phoenix, the market took homeowners' equity, and no individual can do anything about a market. In Houston, the market didn't take your equity. The carrying costs are taking it a month at a time on a renewal letter and a tax statement. And that you can actually do something about. A price problem means waiting on forces you don't control. A cost problem responds to decisions you make this month. Houston homeowners don't have a market problem. They have a math problem. And math problems have answers. The worst move in a squeeze isn't selling and it isn't staying. It's not knowing. So here's your homework this week. Pull your mortgage statement and note your rate. Look up what homes actually lease for on your street, not asking leasing. Also, get one honest number for what your house would sell for as is, and read your insurance renewal before you pay it. An hour, maybe two. That's what knowing your position costs. And listen, whether you ever work with Hero Homebuyers or not, this is genuinely what I want for you. The right decision for your family made with real numbers instead of a guess. Sometimes that's listing with a great agent. Sometimes it's staying put. Sometimes it's becoming a landlord. And sometimes, when speed and certainty matter most, it's a direct sell. If you're weighing your options and want a straight answer with zero pressure, book a free consultation call. The link's below. We'll walk you through your actual numbers together, even if the best move turns out to not be selling to us. And if part of what's complicating your decision is a house you inherited, because honestly, that's where I see the squeeze do some of its worst damage, I made a full video walking through exactly what to do with an inherited house here in Houston, step by step. I'll put it right here. I think it'll help. I'm Fred Pascal with Hero Homebuyers. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next video.